Hello everybody, welcome back to Bela's channel. This is Bridget advocating for the orphans and telling my story. If you like what I'm about, like, share and subscribe. It helps with the growth of the channel. Hey, so today we're discussing Anne with an E season 1 episode 7 and this marks the end of season 1. So it's Christmas time in Avonlea, and as the schoolhouse is practicing for the upcoming concert and preparing decorations, Anne overhears Josie Pye talking smack on how the Cuthberts are now poor and probably will send Anne back. Anne snaps and yells at Josie, and Josie realizes that she didn't know that the Cuthberts mortgaged Green Gables. And then Anne rushes home and overhears Marilla yelling at Mathew for gambling away their future and Anne's future. Mathew then tells Marilla that there was nothing that could be done and that he had spent the loan money on high-yielding crops that he hopes will help pay off the bank's loan. And more yelling ensues, and then this caused Mathew to collapse to the floor. The doctor then tells the ladies, that is Anne and Marilla, that Mathew had a heart attack and it will take months to recover. The doctor goes on to say that Mathew could not undertake any hard labor. Later that night, Marilla goes through the books and Anne comes down and offers her assistance, saying it is the least she can do before they send her back. Marilla then assures Anne that she was not going anywhere, and jokingly she said that she was stuck with them and all their troubles. Anne goes over the books and notes how much time they've got before things get dire. At the bank meeting the next day, the bank manager tells the ladies, that is Anne and Marilla, that the bank will foreclose on their loan at the end of the month if it is not paid in full. In fact, the bank manager was not being forthcoming because he didn't want to deal with the women, but just Mathew. After the news, Marilla rushes out to place an ad in the newspaper, and Anne looks into the dress shop window where Mathew got a puff-sleeved dress. And then that night, Marilla and Anne go through stuff looking for something that they could sell to help raise money to pay off the loan. And one of the items was the brooch that Marilla once wrongfully accused Anne of stealing. And then Anne offers to return her puff-sleeved dress and get the money back. And then Marilla realized that she couldn't leave Mathew alone again, so she sent Anne with the items to sell them. Also, Jerry was to go with Anne. They were to sell one of their horses as well, and the money from the sale of the horse was to go to Jerry as his final wage, since he could no longer be kept on at Green Gables. Anne felt like she could do it on her own, but Marilla insisted, more for her safety than anything else. Before they set off, Diana gives Anne her vanity set for Anne to pawn. On their way to Comedy, Jerry gets on Anne's nerves, but the two made it to their destination. Ginny recognizes Anne from the dress, of course, because it was specifically made for her, and then she wonders why she wants to return it. Anne tells Ginny that while she loved the dress, she has to return it to help her family. We then see Ginny give more money back for the dress than probably Mathew paid, but Anne didn't know. She just accepted the letter. Anne's next stop was the pawn shop, where she makes up stories for each item in hopes of getting more money for it. At first, the shopkeeper didn't quite believe Anne's tales, but seems to have been convinced enough to give a good value for the items. As Anne leaves, she sees the shopkeeper place the brooch in the window. Meanwhile, Jerry had sold the horse but got jumped on and beaten up by two men who took the money and ran away. And as Anne waits for Jerry, she runs into Gilbert. Both were surprised to see each other, and the two went to a local cafe to talk and got something to eat. We then learned that Gilbert was working on a dock to earn money for passage on a ship, and then Gilbert plans to travel and will come back to Avonlea when he feels the time is right. Anne then asks Gilbert about his farm, and then he tells Anne that he had not made a decision yet and he believed that he had time, and he also tells Anne that Mathew had offered to help him work the land. Anne was not surprised at Mathew's generosity. Anne then apologizes for not being sensitive enough to what Gilbert was going through, and he accepts her apology, saying all is water under the bridge. Also at the cafe are the two men that robbed and beat up Jerry. They noticed the ad that Marilla placed asking for borders, and it looked like the two men had their next target. When Anne and Gilbert leaves the cafe, Anne mentions that she had missed Gilbert, which surprised him, and then Anne covers to say that she had missed their academic rivalry. The two call a truce and shake hands. When Jerry arrived, he thought Gilbert was attacking Anne and he tried to stop it, but Anne tells Jerry that everything was okay and sees what had happened to him, and then Jerry mentions getting robbed, and then the two men see Jerry through the cafe window, but Jerry doesn't see them. Gilbert and Anne part while she and Jerry head to Aunt Josephine's place for the night. Aunt Josephine welcomed both of them with open arms, a hot meal, and a bed for the night. However, Jerry is not used to sleeping in a bed of his own, so he asks to sleep in Anne's bed. The next day, Aunt Josephine hires Jerry to work at Green Gables and pay his wages. Josephine then gives Anne a book by George Eliot. While Anne and Jerry were in comedy, Marilla was taking care of Mathew when he talks about how he should die as his life insurance would take care of everything. Marilla didn't want Mathew talking like that. However, while Marilla was away doing some of the farm chores, Mathew makes his way to the parlor to grab his gun. Because he was weak, he struggles to put the bullets in. In the barn, Marilla spies a visitor, and the visitor is Ginny, who finds Mathew trying to put bullets in his gun. Marilla then comes in and sees what was about to happen. Then the ladies help Mathew back to bed. Ginny then had a moment alone with Mathew to tell him that she had met Anne, and then she also told him that she would be devastated if she lost him. When Ginny leaves, Marilla is mad that Mathew would do this to them. Mathew then promises to not kill himself. None the wiser, Anne returns home and gives Mathew a big hug. Later that night, Marilla counts the money that Anne managed to get, and then Anne discovers money in the book Josephine gave her to give Marilla. At first, Marilla refuses the money as she didn't want charity. However, when Anne reads a note from Josephine that says, "Love is not charity," Marilla accepts the money. At the school concert, we then see the children before their Christmas carols as the collection tray is passed around for the Cuthberts, and then the carolers then make their way to Green Gables to give them a Christmas concert, and then getting into the Christmas spirit, Jerry had made a Christmas star out of wood. Later on, Marilla and Mathew told Anne that the ad for Borders had worked and they will be welcoming two men, and the money made from that should help keep Green Gables. And she was excited and happy that it had worked. We then see the Cuthbert with one of the Borders, and then there is a knock at the door and we see it is the second thief. Anne tells him that he had indeed found Green Gables, and then season 1 ends. And that was also the end of episode 7. Well, in this episode, Anne is faced with yet another challenge, but this time the good thing is she faced it with her family. She stuck with her family, helped where she could. I love that the Cuthbert didn't think of sending her back. If it were some people, that would be the first thing to do. But they worked together and in the end, they managed to solve their problem. I also loved how the community worked together to help the Cuthbert. I mean, that's what communities should do, right? Anyway, this is the end of this video. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Bela. Why not change your narrative? Why not change your narrative? How do we leave a legacy of hope for those whose dreams are often forgotten? How do we leave a legacy of hope for those whose dreams are often forgotten? Please don't forget to share, like, and comment. Also subscribe. That helps with the growth of the channel. Bye!